Hi, this is Alan from Alpus Group, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to set up and use a JCT contract. This is published on our website, Alpus Project Management, which is a member of the Alpus Group. They deal with all our project and construction management, no matter where the project happens in the UK or overseas. So let's look into JCT contracts. So how to set up and use a JCT contract. Firstly, what is a JCT contract? A JCT contract is one of a suite of building contracts that are available as pre-prepared contracts for your use in order for you to make a formal, clear and legally binding contract on the parties to your own construction project or projects. The JCT suite of contracts is one of the most commonly used suites of contracts in the UK construction industry, and it is popular for a number of reasons. This can be partially attributed to the JCT suite of contracts having designed standard forms to suit a wide range of projects and procurement options, and those forms having been drafted to be fair for each party of the contract, each party to the contract. Additionally, and very importantly, these contracts are tried and tested by a range of users in the construction industry, and they've been tried and tested for years. So there's been a lot of development of these contracts over the years and over the decades, so that they reflect best practice and they're accepted by the parties to the contract, contractors, subcontractors, designers, and also contract administrators as well as clients. So the Joint Contracts Tribunal is made up of representatives from all the regular users of the JCT suite of contracts, i.e. client bodies, designers, project managers and contract administrators, contractors and subcontractors. Thus, these users have many years and decades of using the JCT contracts in practice and the advantages and disadvantages of various forms in use. Hence, the JCT Tribunal has updated the contracts over decades of use, incorporating and continuing to use what works well and modifying what has not worked so well. So it has evolved to reflect best industry practice. The JCT suite of contracts. JCT publishes a range of contracts from those designed for use on simple home extensions, known as the JCT minor works form of contract, right through to other contract forms that may be suitable for the most complex projects up to multi-million-pound values. The JCT state that their most commonly used contracts are the JCT Standard Building Contract, the JCT Design and Build Contract, and the JCT Minor Works Building Contract. Firstly, the Standard JCT Contract. The standard JCT contract is designed to suit larger works rather than minor works, or it could be possibly works that are of a complex nature that involve a high degree of building services or special work, specialist work, for example, and it is designed to include provisions that allow for the contractor to design specific parts of the works, for the works to be carried out in sections, stages, or phases, for specialist subcontractors to be named in the contract. This is not that unusual for specialist subcontractors to be named in part of the contract, and for their part of the works to involve quite detailed and specialized detailed design work, which they would have an obligation to produce. These could be shop drawings, or they could be other sorts of design drawings, but essentially the contract should define what the obligation is. So the standard JCT contract envisages the works are to be designed or detailed on behalf of the employer, and for the employer to be contractually obliged to provide drawings and documentation to define the scope of the works and the quality of the works. The standard JCT contract is available in several different variations depending on whether the contract is to be lump sum or is subject to remeasurement, both of which may be acceptable in certain circumstances. The standard form is most often encountered on large complex commercial construction projects, particularly those where the specification and the design of the works are particularly important factors to the employer. Next, we have the JCT Design and Build Contract. The JCT design and build contract is designed to suit projects where the contractor is to be responsible for both completing the detailed design of the works and the construction of the works. In such circumstances, the employer will provide preliminary information to the contractor in a tender document entitled "The Employer's Requirements," and the contractor responds with his contractor's proposals, which are essentially the contractor's offer in response to those employer's requirements. The contractor's proposals may not correspond exactly with the employer's requirements, and so there may well be a period of negotiation during which an agreement may be found in some revised contractor's proposals before both parties enter into a negotiated contract on a design and build basis. And of course, very simply, if the contractor's proposals do correspond with the employer's requirements, then it's quite easy to enter into a form of contract accepting the contractor's proposals. Ideally, under this type of contract, the contractor will be paid a lump sum price to complete the detailed design and construction of the works envisaged in the employer's requirements, as may be revised during the negotiation period before the contract signature. In practice, there may need to be provisions made for the evaluation of variations to the original agreed scope of works as contracted. For example, fitting out of a shell and core contract for a commercial building could well be a mutually agreeable means of valuing works for the benefit of the employer and the contractor, where tenant fitting out is not known at the outset. So if you can imagine one of these large commercial buildings, essentially it's a shed, and the developer could commission a contractor to design and build the shed, and they could mutually agree that the fitting out to suit the tenant, who may not be in the picture originally, could be done as a variation order. So there needs to be an agreeable means of evaluating that variation order. This form of design and build contract is very popular due to its single point of design responsibility, which means that if a defect is found in either the design or construction scope, then the employer needs only pursue the single contractor rather than ascertain where the problem arises from faulty workmanship or design of one of various consultants, as would have taken place traditionally, where the client appointed various designers and then a separate contractor to implement those designs. So the design and build contract is frequently seen on a wide range of commercial projects, particularly where the certainty of cost and speed of construction are important factors for the employer. Importantly, there still needs to be good relationships between the parties in order for the project to be successful. This is very important, and in a way is more important than the actual detail of the contract. The relationships can overcome all sorts of difficulties, whereas if things get bogged down in contractual disputes, then it may be difficult to keep a contract on track. The JCT minor works contract. The JCT minor works contract is designed to suit projects where the scope of the works is simple in character. The work is designed by or on behalf of the employer, for example by design consultants, an architect or an engineer. The employer is contractually obliged to provide drawings and or specifications and or schedules of works to define totally the quantity and quality of the work, and an architect/contract administrator is to be appointed to administer the terms and conditions of the contract. There is also another version of the JCT minor works contract which contains provisions for the contractor to design part of the works. The JCT minor works forms may be typically seen on small, simple commercial or residential projects. So, which JCT contract should I select? An important question that is frequently asked is, what form of JCT contract should I choose for my project? The answer to that question of which form is the most appropriate will depend on the exact nature of the project and the most suitable procurement strategy for that project, taking into account all of the project deliverables such as drawings for different purposes, for example for planning approval, for building control approval, construction detailed information, or production such as shop drawings, or indeed as-built drawings, a record of what actually exists for handing over to the employer upon completion, and he may need to transmit these to his operator for use for maintenance. And obligations on implementation to time, cost and quality. Another factor to consider is whether the terms and conditions within the standard JCT suite of contracts should be or need to be amended to suit the specific needs of your project. Procurement strategy, contract selection and drafting of any contract amendments are an important task, as the resulting contract will define the parties' roles, rights and obligations for the project. Getting this wrong can have a significant negative impact on the project or one or more of the parties. As such, we would recommend that you contact an expert prior to selecting a form of contract so that we can provide detailed procurement and contract advice specific to your needs. The whole issue needs to be looked at as a whole, not just the matter of formulating a contract. Is the issue of how to procure all the goods and services for a project in the most appropriate manner for the conditions of that contract. So the format and content of the JCT contract. The majority of the JCT suite of contracts follow the standard format of 1. The articles of agreement, 2. The contract particulars, where the parties set out project-specific information, 3. The conditions of contract, and 4. The schedules, which can be added into the contract if desired. The contract conditions are then typically divided into the following main sections. 1. Definitions, 2. Carrying out of the works or execution of the works, 3. Control of the works, 4. Payment, 5. Variations, 6. Injury, damage and insurance, 7. Assignment, third-party rights and collateral warranties, 8. Termination, and 9. Settlement of disputes. If you need contractual advice about any particular project, then please do contact us if you require detailed advice on specific contract clauses for particular projects, or better to discuss the whole approach to the project with us. So contract amendments, any necessary amendments to the standard form of contract to suit your particular project should be considered very carefully, as they may alter and affect your rights under the contract. And if not suitably worded, these may become onerous contracts with unknown adverse effects. Such considerations to be aware of include bespoke, special or amended payment provisions, defects liability clauses, and unusual amounts of retention to be held by the employer, rights of set-off clauses, design responsibility and warranties including collateral warranty of time, loss and expense, conditions precedent, acceleration, supplementation and any special circumstances or conditions for contract termination. We strongly recommend that you take expert legal advice before considering to change the fundamental terms of a standard construction contract. So Alpus can help you to decide on the right procurement and contracting strategy for a project, and we find that collaboration is the best approach. The procurement strategy that you decide on and the sort of contracts that you may enter into has a big bearing on the likely results that you will get from your project. It is essential to take the appropriate expert advice before entering into any form of design and/or building contract. The implications of entering into a contract that does not properly reflect your intentions can lead to you taking on more risk and responsibility than you may have intended. Many design and construction disputes can be avoided and also mitigated by ensuring that the design and/or construction contracts are properly prepared and understood by all the parties prior to entering into contracts and commencement of works on design or construction. Alpus believes in adopting collaborative contracts as a policy, and we can advise you the best way to set these up if we're involved at a sufficiently early stage in the project. Alpus Project Management offers advice in respect of procurement strategies, contract drafting, clause amendments, and we also strongly recommend to initially undertake a comprehensive risk assessment and then regularly undertake risk reviews of projects that you may have in mind. There is a whole process of setting up projects for success involving the 20 key factors for project success, as identified in the book Project Deliverance, the 20 Key Factors for Project Success or Failure, by Alan Edwards, FCIOB, FAPM. If you're interested in discussing any projects with us, then call Alan on +44 7539 141257 or +44 333 224 1257. You can schedule a call with me at calendly.com/AlanJE, or you can drop an email to alan@alpusgroup.com. That's all for now. Cheers.